Hello my beautiful friends and welcome back. So today I am back with controversial opinions that might get me cancelled. And now I don't say this lightly, but I do genuinely feel like some of these could ruffle a few feathers, and that is not my intention at all. You know, I feel like in this day and age as a society we have become too sensitive, and I say that coming from a very sensitive individual. Like, I am sensitive through and through, so for me to say that, you know, it's a pretty big statement. But yeah, I just feel like, you know, this day and age, if we don't agree with the masses or you do have a slightly different opinion, people don't like it. And I feel like we're losing our individuality. Like, you know, the beauty of the world is that people are so different. People think differently, we have different brains, and we have different opinions. If there is a day I'm ready to be controversial, it is today. I am due my period at any moment, any minute. Let's just say the emotions have been high. So I'm going to channel all my emotions into these controversial opinions, okay? Our first controversial opinion is wedding culture is wild to me. I think it is absolute insanity how normalised it is to spend 30, 40, 50,000 euro on one day, on 24 hours. Are you joking me? This is something me and Diarmuid have spoke about a lot over the years, you know, and we're in agreement on the fact that when we get married, we really want to have a small intimate wedding, and then we want to go on like a month or 2 month long honeymoon. And I just feel like this makes so much more sense because so many people put themselves in debt for their wedding. So many people also expect to get a lot of the money back in presents, which is rarely the case because a lot of people who go to weddings and attend weddings, it's also very expensive to go to a wedding as a guest. You often have your accommodation, you have the present, you have to get something to wear, a dress, travel down to the venue, food, like it adds up a lot, you know. I have spent crazy money on some weddings that I've been to, and especially in this day and age, in a cost of living crisis, it's not easy for people, you know. So very few people make much money back in gifts. I don't know anybody who made back what they thought they would get in gifts. So I just feel like unless you are flushed with cash, or else you have been saving for a very long time and it's something that you're very passionate about doing, I just don't feel like it's worth putting yourself in a bad place to spend that kind of money on one singular day. At the end of the day, a wedding is about you two, you know, and that's another point. A lot of people, like couples at their own wedding, hardly even get to see much of each other, you know. I have seen people say that one of the best things they did is stay by each other's side throughout the whole day, but it's very rare people are actually able to do that, especially when you're having a bigger wedding. There's so many people there, you want to interact with your guests and your loved ones, so a lot of the time your guys' day doesn't even end up being about you guys. It ends up being about everybody else, and I just will never get over it. It's just absolutely wild to me. So yeah, don't know why more people don't have an intimate wedding and then spend more money on their honeymoon, because it means you guys get to make more memories together, you know, have more quality time, maybe see parts of the world that you otherwise wouldn't get to see. You can also go to destinations that are extremely affordable. And I say this also having been to some amazing weddings where I had an absolute ball, where it was such an incredible, magical, special day. But it just comes and goes way too fast, you know, and people spend years and years and years and put all their savings into their wedding, and then it's over, you know, in the blink of an eye. So that's why I think my way is a much better way. So our next controversial opinion is I think everybody should have to work in retail for at least a year to learn patience, kindness. And I say this as somebody who worked in retail for 5 years, from 15 to 20. I worked in the same shop, and I just feel like you can tell the people apart who have worked retail versus the people who have not worked retail. And you know, I know a lot of people will probably feel very strongly on this because a lot of people have strong opinions on retail, because for a lot of people it is a really bad experience working retail. But I just feel like working retail and serving customers, it forces you to meet a lot of people and deal with very difficult, rude and ignorant people that maybe otherwise you wouldn't come into contact with on such a regular basis. And it does teach you the importance of kindness and the importance of patience, because when you're serving someone, you cannot give the same energy that you're getting, even though some people do. You know, I have over the years encountered some very rude retail workers, but I feel like people often get to that place when they've been working retail for so long and it's just having such a bad effect on them, you know. But I just feel like if we all did at least a year working in retail, we would learn, you know, that saying like kill them with kindness. When someone's being rude to you, most of the time the answer is not to be rude back. Be the bigger person. I just feel like there's so much anger, hatred, judgment, bitterness in the world, and we could all really do with being kinder to people. And I feel like retail really teaches you that, you know, how to be kind to all sorts of people, no matter how they're treating you, because at the end of the day, you don't know what someone's dealing with. You don't know what goes on when someone goes in their house and that door's shut. We all fight our silent battles that nobody knows about. And we all have our hardships, we all have our trauma, we all have our struggles. And I just feel like there's not enough kindness in the world. We don't have enough patience with each other. So my next controversial opinion is I don't think you should be allowed social media accounts until you're 16, okay? And I say this as somebody who, I wasn't allowed social media accounts until I was 14, I think. And obviously when I was 14, there was not the amount of social media that there is now. Like, I think Instagram only started around that time, same as Snapchat. They were all very new, you know, so there wasn't a lot going on. But I was a heavy Tumblr user. I was a Tumblr girl through and through. I don't know if any of you were, but it was an era where you had to be there. And if you weren't there, you will never understand. Like, you just won't get it. And I don't feel like there's any comparison of Tumblr to any social media app these days. I'd say maybe TikTok is the closest, but I feel like Tumblr was extremely graphic. There was very little censorship on Tumblr, and you could come across anything and everything on Tumblr, right? And I say this because I feel like now, looking back as a 26-year-old, I feel like Tumblr gave me a lot of ideas that I otherwise wouldn't have had, especially in the realm of self-harm. When I was a young teenager, I went through a few years of really bad self-harm, and I often ask myself, would it have been that bad if I wasn't exposed to the things that I was exposed to on Tumblr? Like, my parents had no idea, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they even knew I was on Tumblr. They wouldn't have even understood what it was, you know. It came across as such a harmless little, you know, app or website, whatever. I just feel like at 14, 15 years of age, even though you think you know it all, even though you think you're so grown and mature and no one can tell you what to do, you know, you are extremely vulnerable at that age. It's often around the age where we're going through puberty. There's so much going on in our bodies. Hormones are raging, you know, we're trying to figure out who we are, we're growing boobs, we're getting our periods. Like, there's just a lot going on at that time. There's a lot of emotions at that time, at the best of times, without being exposed to some of the stuff that there is on social media. And I just feel like it's the same with TikTok, you know. It's like your algorithm works and is curated for you. So like, if you're looking at really depressing stuff on TikTok, you're gonna keep getting shown more depressive stuff. I know times change and things change and we have to keep up with it, but I just feel like it's so harmful for 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-olds to be exposed to what they are these days. And it makes me sad that we're the last generation that, you know, at 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, we were outside on our bikes, we were playing out in the street, we were inside playing with our dolls and our Barbies. Like, at 12 years of age, I was still obsessed with my Bratz dolls. Do you know what I mean? Like, I used to love the likes of Club Penguin and Star Doll and, you know, playing them games online that were so harmless. But we're just growing up way too fast, and I feel like a lot of that is linked to social media, and I just feel like it alters their brain chemistry. So my next controversial opinion is I think the extreme minimalist aesthetic is just not it, okay? In theory, I agree with minimalism, you know? So basically, you know, be mindful about what and why you're buying something, and get rid of things you don't need, you know, pass things on to a better home, somebody who might need it more. Don't hoard items, you know. I personally don't like clutter. I absolutely despise clutter. Like, I like everything having its place, and when you're finished with something, you know where to put it back. I feel like the extreme minimalism aesthetic that is portrayed on social media these days, I feel like it's nearly become a trend, but it's very much giving, people want their house to look like nobody lives there, basically. So it's very much giving as if you're staying in a hotel or an Airbnb. And I just feel like there's a difference between a house and a home. A house is like the bare bones with, like, you know, your basic furniture, whatever, and then a home is where you put your personal touch on, you know, and you add in things that you like and things that bring you joy and bring you fulfillment and make you feel comfortable, make you feel relaxed. Like, you want your home to be somewhere that you enjoy being. A lot of us can spend quite a lot lot of time at home over the course of our lifetime. So I just don't understand the attraction of wanting your house to look like nobody lives there. You live in your house. It's meant to be functional. I just feel like the minimalism aesthetic, it's just not practical. I feel like it's just as much of an addiction as being a hoarder is. Being obsessed with not having anything in your house is just as bad as not being able to get rid of anything, you know, and having piles and piles of clothes or whatever it may be. I feel like it's the same thing, just on the flip side. I've watched some wild things on, you know, minimalism. Like this one man, he had 2 pairs of trousers and it was stressing him out so much that he was trying to figure out how he could whittle it down to having just 1 pair of trousers. What? I just personally love going into someone's house or home and getting like that homely feeling and being able to see some of their personality throughout their home and things they like, or, you know, maybe their interests or their hobbies. Maybe you're a reader and you have like a big display of your books or whatever it may be. I just feel like them little touches are what makes a house a home. Now, I feel like this is where I could lose a lot of you, okay? But I feel like the glamorization of OnlyFans being sold to young women is extremely dangerous. Now, hear me out, okay? It's become a trend in this day and age to start an OnlyFans as soon as you turn 18, and it's being sold as a get-rich-quick scheme to these young girls. But what they're not seeing is that these women who are, you know, marketing and encouraging young girls to start OnlyFans online are in the top 1% of earners, which very few people are in. You know, very few people are making hundreds of thousands, millions of euros doing OnlyFans. And a lot of the girls in the top 1% of earners are girls who already had a big platform before they started OnlyFans, you know, which makes a huge difference. You know, if you already have a platform, you're more than likely going to make a lot more money. Whereas if you do not have a big platform, it's going to be much more difficult for you to make this amount of money. I've seen so many young girls come out and say how much they regretted starting OnlyFans because they were sold an absolute dream and it did not come to fruition. You know, they were sold an absolute lie. And on the flip side, I've even seen a lot of women who have made hundreds of thousands, if not €1 million doing OnlyFans, come to regret it because in hindsight, you know, they started when they were 18, 19, and then as they got a bit older and they look back, they realised that they did a lot of things that they found very humiliating. They did a lot of things that they felt pressured to do, things that they were not comfortable doing, you know, because how OnlyFans works, you know, is where a lot of girls make their money is through requests. So a big draw of OnlyFans for men is the fact that they feel like, you know, they're closer to these women. They know these women, you know, it's kind of on that whole parasocial relationship, you know. When you're doing OnlyFans, they say if you want to be successful, you have to be talking to these men one-on-one, right? And a lot of these men will send requests, and that's where a lot of women make a lot of their money, you know, because they'll put their requests at a much higher price. So then, therefore, they often end up doing a lot of things that they aren't comfortable with. Whenever I think of sex work, I think of the thousands of women that are sold into sex trafficking every single year, you know. Sex trafficking is the second largest and fastest growing criminal industry in the world, you know, second to drug trafficking. And then also, how many thousands of women end up in sex work because they feel like they have no other choice. They feel like they've exhausted all their options. They maybe don't have an education, cannot get another job, and they feel like it's either this or nothing. It's either this or I can't feed my kids. It's this or I can't pay my bills, you know. So many women end up in sex work because of that reasons, you know. And sex work is one of the oldest industries in the world, but it's also throughout history been known to be one of the industries that treats women the worst time and time again, you know, because it's most of the time it's men in power. A lot of people who try and market it to young women try and phrase it in a way where it's empowering to take money off men. But when we ask ourselves, who's still in power here? It's still the man, because the man is deciding to give you money because he thinks you're attractive enough or he likes the content you're producing. But as soon as he doesn't think you're attractive enough, or he's not happy with the content you're producing, or maybe you don't fulfill one of his requests, their money's gone, you know, they're gone. And that's also your income. So you can lose your subscribers just as quickly as you gain them. Another point that they often use and try and, you know, encourage young girls to get into it is they say men are going to look at us anyway, you know, so we might as well take money off them. But most of these young girls who are starting OnlyFans are putting their prices at 5, 10, 15 euro a month for their OnlyFans, because that's how they're told they'll make more money, they'll get more people interested, they'll lower the price. But then you're putting a €5 price on your body. You are worth so much more than that. You know, it really is circumstantial. A lot of women end up in this industry because they feel like they have no other choice, but it's very different from an 18-year-old girl who has the world at her feet, who doesn't fully understand what she's getting herself into, who doesn't understand the ins and outs of the industry and what could happen, waiting until her 18th birthday to start an OnlyFans. There's a big difference. I just feel like there's a whole generation of young women who are being led on by the promises of empowerment and money of doing OnlyFans, when in reality the industry tears young women down, and it often leaves them with a lifetime of trauma, self-worth issues and general insecurity, because a lot of the time they don't understand what they're getting themselves into. Which leads me into my next controversial opinion. I feel like they need to raise the age you have to be to join OnlyFans. I do not think you are mature enough at 18 years of age to make such a big decision. I feel like you should be 21 or even 25. I personally think 25 because, you know, 25 for a lot of people is when your frontal lobe develops. I'm 26 now, and when I compare my 25, 26-year-old self to my 18-year-old self, we are worlds apart. Like, I made so many decisions at 18 that I would never make now, and I feel like it doesn't even come down to maturity. I think it comes down to that life experience, and 7 years really do make the world of difference. Because, like I said, so many young girls who do it and end up regretting it. But, you know, as we know, especially with the likes of OnlyFans, even though they say, oh, it stays on site, yada, 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 people screenshot, people do send it around. If you have it on your phone, you can take a photo on your iPad, or if you have it on the computer, you can use your phone to take a photo. Like, we know this, you know, once we put something on the internet, it's always going to be there somewhere. Someone has it. I just feel like we need to protect our young women more than we are, and I just feel like we're not doing it, you know. And I feel like there also needs to be more conversation around it. I feel like it's become very controversial to feel any other way than to say that there's no problem with it. But there is a problem with it, and it's not about having a problem with sex workers. It's about the industry and the way it's being sold to young girls that I have a problem with. You know, as I said, it's one of the oldest industries in the world, but it also treats women the worst. You know, time and time again we've seen it. Right, so my next controversial opinion is I feel like alcohol is poison. It is the only drug where if you don't take it, you have to explain why you're not taking it. I just feel like it's insanity that it is so widely encouraged, you know. Think of any event, baby showers, weddings, hens, christenings, like every single event, every single get-together we ever have, birthdays, like the list is just never ending. And alcohol beverage is always involved, and you're always the strange one if you're not drinking. You know, it's always like, oh, do you have a bit of a problem, you know, or not able to handle the liquor, you know, and you're always looked down upon if you don't drink. Why have we normalized poisoning ourselves? Why have we normalized numbing ourselves at every event? Why have we normalised waking up and not being able to remember a bunch of stuff that happened last night? Why are we normalising feeling so ill the day after drinking because we drink too much? Why? So our next controversial opinion is I think cheating should be illegal. And I know it is in some states, I think in America, maybe there are some other countries as well, I'm not sure. But I think worldwide it should be illegal. And I feel like if you're married and your partner cheats on you, I feel like you should be able to sue them. You should be able to bring them to court, and that's the end of that. Because I feel like if you don't want to be in a relationship, leave. Leave. It is not that difficult. If you are not monogamous, don't be in a monogamous relationship. Leave. It is not that difficult. I don't know why it is so common. It absolutely terrifies me, the percentage of men and women that cheat. Married men and married women. Why? You don't need to be there. And I know a lot of it is having your cake and eating it. They want her and they want her too. It's crazy. It should be illegal, and I feel like if it was illegal, less people would do it, because, you know, if it was illegal, people wouldn't want to deal with the consequences of their actions if you were able to sue. But people are just off the hook way too easily, you know. If they're caught, oh well, we're going to split up now, it's going to be a divorce, oh well. I feel like there's not enough repercussions for it. And I said what I said. I'm gonna wrap it up here. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you have any opinions on anything we spoke about in the comments below, and, you know, let's keep it respectful with one another. You know, we all have our own opinions, and that is okay. It's okay to have different opinions. It's okay to have opposing opinions. We don't need to fall out over it, you know? We can still be besties. I have different opinions to so many people in my life, you know, family, friends. There are a number of things that we feel differently on, and that's okay. I hope you enjoyed, and I cannot wait to see you all in my next video. I love you all so very much, and I'll see you super duper soon. Bye bye, friends.